So today we're going to be mastering AI in just 30 minutes because that's all the time they gave me. And we're going to have some simple hacks to save hours every single day. And today we're going to be diving into the background on what really is AI, what can you learn from it, what can you utilize it for, and how can you be as productive as possible. So if we go on to the next slide, a little bit about me. My name's Emmanuel Delamota, but I go by Manny. So I'm an AI business consultant, a marketing director, husband, and soon-to-be father. On the right side, you can see my beautiful wife, Allison. She is the founder of the My Morning Devotional podcast, if you guys haven't heard. Right below is Millie, my baby girl is about to be born soon, and the least important person in that picture, myself on the right. So I used to be overwhelmed juggling work, church, family, and soon a newborn until I discovered the power of AI. So my job requires a lot of moving pieces, and AI has allowed me to save extra time and what some people call stressful, I call automation. Now, I'm on a mission to help as many businesses and people as possible do the same thing. And this is not hype. This is not just fantasy. This is practical tools. And if you understand how AI can work, then you'll know where to plug and play that in your life. So if we move on to the next slide, what can you do, if you really think about it, with 10 extra hours per week, right? That's a good amount. Would you spend more time with your family? Would you build a side hustle? Play pickleball? I'm only saying that because I have an obsession right now. But really think through what can you do and how can you dissect that. That's how you want to be leveraging AI. You want to think about where can I plug and play and take some time back. So before we dive into AI, we can go on to the next slide. I want us to sit back and really think about how incredible God is, right? And then obviously I have to bring God into this picture. Before we see everything, we want to see how God created the human mind. He created our emotions, our thoughts, our creativity. It's the most complex, most incredible processing system on earth, right? And all it takes for it to run is just some air, sleep, food, and depending, a little cafecito or two will help, right? But when we try to replicate a fraction of that intelligence through AI, it takes a massive data center, electricity, billions of dollars worth on servers, and hundreds of engineers just to replicate what God was able to do in us, right? So AI is impressive, right? But it's only a reflection of the real genius, which is the creator who designed you and me. That's why I believe AI isn't something to be feared, it's something to be stewarded. Because if used wisely, it can give us back more time to focus on what really matters, which is faith, family, and our calling. So with that, we can start off and jump into the AI 101, right? So here's the biggest problem right now with AI. It's this big buzzword, and we can jump on to the next slide. You hear it all over the place. You hear about AI reference in chatbots, reference in newsletters, reference in autocorrect systems. Even some of these fancy fridges are saying, hey, we have AI installed into it, and it'll let you know when your milk expired, which is weird. But most AI systems are all just really good at doing one thing. And what you need to realize, AI is not a brain, is just a tool that was designed extremely well. So if we move on to that next slide, you can see that most people don't really understand how it works, right? We hear ChatGPT, we hear Gemini, we hear image generator, video generator, but what does this all mean, right? So today, just understanding the basics of AI can make you so much better at using these tools, and we are going to go in and dive deeper into that. So moving on, so what is AI at its core? Is a system designed to mimic human-like intelligence. So it solves problems, recognizes patterns, and makes predictions. Most of us may not realize this, but we've been using it for quite some time now. So Netflix, right? You're watching your favorite shows, and it posts that section that says, here's your recommendation list. That's all AI. You have Waze where you're driving towards a certain direction, and then it tells you make a random left and then a random right, and it takes a little bit longer. It makes no sense. That's AI. That's still AI. Asking Siri, hey, do this. AI as well. or Google. All of that is AI. I think the biggest difference that we're doing today is that AI has officially gone from big corporations to the people. So that's the biggest. It's been here for a long time. Now it's just been transitioned to us. So all of this looks like thinking, but it's not thinking. There is no feelings. There is no conscious. AI doesn't have an aha moment. AI is like teaching computers to think and solve problems in ways similar to humans. So instead of following a strict step-by-step instruction for every situation, AI systems, what they're doing really is they're just recognizing patterns and adapting to new informations. So the traditional computer programs are like, you want to think about it like a detailed recipe, right? That they have to follow exactly. The difference here is that AI is like a cook who learns from experience and can improvise. So they can make fettuccine alfredo one time and follow the instructions. Well, AI can now find all the different variations of fettuccine alfredo, see that which one you like the most, and start replicating that one consistently. But it's all pattern corrections. So moving on to the next slide, there are different tools that exist today, right? And I ended up making a action figure of myself using an image generator so you can understand the possibilities. But we have what's called an LLM. Those are ChatGPTs, Genesis, Perplexity, and that just stands for large language models. We have image generators, we have audio generators, which can clone voices and do a full podcast without you even being there anymore. We have video generators, which help with editing, voice assistants. That's what we're using with Siri and Google, and different third-party tools for productivity. But to really understand this, the bread and butter of what's really making a difference into what we know today, it's what's called the LLMs, right? And these all operate off what's called a neural network. So the neural network, you want to think about that as a vast network of interconnected neurons, each working together to process information and make decisions. So AI was literally replicated from the human mind. We have different neurons that fire in our brains so we could learn and we can adapt. Right now, you guys are sitting down and your neurons are firing, trying to register all the information that I'm giving you. Chat was created, these LLMs were created the exact same way. So they each work together for a function, creating a massive web of artificial neurons that collaborate to process and understand that data. So super simple, you have an input, that is a question, it gets processed within that, and then the output is the answer. Now, imagine you're teaching a child to recognize different animals. You show them a picture of cats, dogs, birds, telling them which are which. And you see that there's more examples to distinguish between them. So similarly, they start recognizing what is a tiger, what is an elephant, what is correct. And the difference here is that ChatGPT was essentially a training model that hundreds of software developers came together, and they trained this model to understand that, hey, this is a tiger, not an elephant. Now, what's happening in real time is that Chat is not going to give you this until they went through all the training. So this went through hundreds upon hundreds of millions of iterations of different decision making so it could understand the patterns. So it's not so much that ChatGPT is this all-knowing genius, it's that it's gone through so many iterations that once it was good enough, what did they do next? They released it to the public, right? So then everybody here became a training model. So at one point, what you start to notice is that it starts getting all this input and filtering through it. The developing team is going through all this information with the system and training at the same time. And now its predictive actions are so much more accurate that it almost feels like magic. It almost feels like ChatGPT knows way too much, but it's just a person, a system that was just bombarded with different neurons to get to that point. So let's really talk into, in the next slide, how did we get to this point? And the secret sauce here is Transformers. And no, I'm not talking about the Michael Bay movie. We're talking about a breakthrough in AI. Why now, right? We talked about Netflix. We talked about ways. They all have AI. But what's the biggest difference between ChatGPT and everything else? So a transformer is what allows AI to process language more like humans do. So they understand the context and relationships between words, rather than just looking at a situation in strict isolation. So what we see here is that now you can have a full conversation with AI and it understands what you're saying. But the crazy part is that it's still not reading words. It's translating all these words into numbers. So what the genius people at OpenAI were able to do is that they were able to say, hey, if we have a specific word or a sentence, let's break it all down into different sections. Each one of these words is going to represent a number. When it represents a number, it gets broken out into the system, and then the system's able to digest that into words. That's the easy part. So if we move on to the next point, you would ask a question like, what is the shape in the wheel? What's interesting here is that you have a sentence, but there's associations, right? You're asking for the shape, you're asking for the wheel. Now, when you think about training a model, it becomes a bit confusing because for us, it's very easy to understand like, hey, we're going to the bank, right, to make a deposit. But how do you make a difference between a bank that you're going to make a deposit and a riverbank? So now the AI system has to start complexing these different iterations. So not only does it need to understand what a specific word is, but what is the different context of that word. So you can see in the full picture, it extracts those two words, shape and wheel, and it tries to get an association between the two. And all it does, this is all probabilities, right? It all is trying to figure out what is the highest likelihood based off all the input and the training to understand what's the right answer. So you can see then there's a 97% chance that it's circle, it's a 0.5 that is triangle, 0.7 that it's octagon, and a 2% chance that it's a rectangle. And this is what it is. This is what's happening in real time at ChatGPT. You're putting in a question, it's diagnosing the entire answer, and then it's giving a probability of what it thinks the best answer is, and then it's feeding it to you. So if we move on, now let's get into the good part, right? How do we utilize this? You understand how it works. It's not this magic being. It's literally a system that's been trained to understand probabilities a lot and see where can it leverage associations. So sometimes when you're using ChatGPT, it's interesting, right? You'll ask a question, and it'll be the same question, but somehow it gets a very generic answer. And in other instances, you're like, wow, this is incredible. It gave me a full breakdown, a table, and knew exactly what I wanted. The difference is how you phrase those prompts. One of the biggest things that's becoming important a lot, especially if you work in any organization that's trying to implement AI, is that they're seeking for more and more people to be almost a prompt engineer, right? You need to learn how to ask the right questions. And even when we're having conversations, how do you ask the right questions to get the best answer? Well, ChatGPT is the same way. So I'm going to give you a breakdown. And if you go to the next slide, these are the 6 prompt components that are going to give you everything that you need so you are mastering the art of being essentially almost a prompt engineer. So there is an order of importance, right? So we have tasks. This is mandatory. You have context and exemplars. These are good to have. Nice to haves are personas, format, and tone. And these are all the things that you want to have baked into your prompt if you want to extract the most amount of value out of the system. So we're moving on to the first. We have tasks. Simple enough. Whenever you're putting in a task, it always should start with an action verb. So you want to say generate, give, write, analyze, and describe clearly what your end goal is. So on the top, you see one simple task, right? So generate a 3-month training program for me to follow. Sounds easy enough. But what people don't realize is that ChatGPT could do a lot more than just one action at a time. You can stack actions depending on the request. So you see here, you can say analyze the collected user feedback from an event we just ran, summarize the top 3 takeaways with a focus on business impact, and then categorize the rest based on team responsibilities. So you can stack different action items and extract so much more information than just asking one simple action and breaking it down through every single response. So that's task, the most important one. Now we get into context, right? With ChatGPT, if you don't give it context, it's a mass amount of information. And now you want to limit the endless possibilities so you get the most direct response that's going to benefit your question. So ask yourself this before actively writing out the context. So what is the user's background? What does success look like? And what environment are they in? So For example, I'm a 70-kilogram male. Give me a 3-month training program, right? That's a little vague. I'm the user background. I'm a 70-kilogram male looking to put on 5 kilograms of muscle mass. That's what success looks like over the next 3 months. I only have time to go to the gym twice a week and for 1 hour each session. And then the environment, give me a 3-month training program to follow. So you can see now it's becoming a lot more custom tailored to you as a person opposed to a general 3-month training program, because a training program for me is completely different than a training program for any of you. So a context is super important to have. Then we jump into exemplars. This is the fun one. This is one that I don't see too many people using, and it can make a massive difference on a prompt and the answer that you get out of it. So think about the example here below, right? So I pulled out, based on my resume, please help me structure an answer to the interview questions. What's your biggest weakness? What I ended up doing here, I pulled out what's called the STAR framework, right? And the STAR framework, it breaks down situations, tasks, actions, etc. And in this framework, now I'm telling it, hey, follow this guideline, and it gives me more context on how I could better get a response from that. But what makes this even better is that if you were to get, for example, another resume, let's say you see an all-star resume that looks incredible, and all you say is, hey, I want to make my resume a lot better. This is what a really good resume looks like. Could you replicate that for me? And it does that on the fly. So on the digital marketing side, I have this client who recently started running Facebook ads, and I saw a competitor that had an amazing ad, incredible amount of engagement, but it was on a completely different business, right? So how do we tie the two? So what I ended up doing is, hey, this is the business right now that we have. I found this other business that's doing it really well for this other vertical. This is a copy and paste of their context, and ChatGPT was able to understand the full context of that and replicate it for the new business. So literally, just even if like you're in one line and another side you see, oh, I could pull that, copy and paste it, paste on the chat. Giving examples is the best way to extract the most amount of information. Then we have the persona. So think of someone you wish you had instant access to with the task that you're facing. You can name people who only are like famous enough, so you want to think about like Steve Jobs, Alex Hormozy, so any really famous person. But what makes this incredible is that none of us could just go and ask for Tim Cook. Nobody could just go and ask for Mark Zuckerberg's thoughts on anything. You would spend so much money to just get a quote from any of them to understand how it applies to your life. Now, you can say, if you're injured, you're an experienced physical therapist with over 20 years of experience. Just tell them who they are, and they will assume that persona and give you the best response. If you're a job seeker, you're a hiring manager looking to fill X position on your team, it will act like that. If you're working on a brief, you're a senior product marketing manager responsible for XYZ. It's going to give you the best response. And for context, bought a home a few months back. I literally said, hey, you're an all-star broker, salesperson, whatever. I need you to diagnose these 7 properties for me and tell me which one is the best and what's the appreciation rate in each one of these areas. And it was able to break out a full table showing which property is most profitable for me, what the appreciation looks like, and how much I'm going to pay in mortgage when I buy it and after the homestead exception a year from now. I didn't have to do that. I asked the expert. I just gave him a persona. Leveraging your persona is going to give you so much more value out of chat than just saying, hey, just build this program for me. Then if we move on to the next, these are nice to have, right? The formats on how you wanted to export any of your information. So the most populars are blogs, email formats, bullet points, code blocks. I've already used the format of code blocks to, let's say I have my Shopify site and I don't know how to fix a certain section. I literally say, hey, I wish I had this. Could you write the code for me? And it does it. Social media captions, a step-by-step guide, comparison tables, transcripts. You're doing a YouTube video and you don't want to think too much about the video. Just say, hey, this is my idea. Could you make a transcript for 60 seconds so I can make a reel? Done. So you can see here, we had a survey where we had to analyze 100+ user feedback. You can imagine how manual that could be. And I needed to show it to my boss to had the full breakout. So all we essentially did was got all that feedback. I said, hey, I need you to create it in a table format, and I need the columns to be feedback, team, and priority. And then we extracted all that information, and I was able to just copy and paste that onto a Google Sheet and then just send it to my boss. He's like, wow, you're so talented. So we move on to the next one, which is tone. So this is good from a writing perspective. If you're trying to extract certain information, this is more of a bonus, but there's just so many types of tones. You have casual, formal, witty, charismatic, pessimistic. There's just so many tones to try to get through with ChatGPT that I'm sure like it's hard on the fly to think like, oh, I want this specific tone. So let's make it easier for ourselves. You don't have to think about the tone. Just write about how you feel, right? So I'm writing an email and I want to be taken seriously without coming off as too stuck up and cringy. Could you please give me a list of 5 tone keywords I can include in a prompt for ChatGPT? So just ask it. You're not going to remember all that. So it'll tell you off the bat, oh, well, you want to sound professional, polite, clear, confident, and friendly. So they just rewrite the prompt. Hey, I want to sound professional, polite, friendly. Write this and add all the other components to it, and now you have the recipe for a really good answer. So let's now bake it all together, right? You're a senior product marketing manager at Apple. That's the persona. And you have just unveiled the latest Apple product in collaboration with Tesla, the Apple Car, and received 12,000 pre-orders, which is 200% higher than target. That's the context. Write, that's the task, an email, that's the format, your boss, Tim Cookie, sharing this positive news. This email should include a TLDR section, project background, etc. That's the exemplar. The tone, use clear and concise language and write in a confident yet friendly tone. The exemplar part, let's say you want to remove that, copy and paste something else of that you really like, that you see admirable, like, wow, they did that really well. How can I use that? Copy and paste that. If you don't have the context, just write it out. Write exactly what success looks like and what a really good prompt of exemplar would pan out like. So if you go on to the next slide, I pulled out, using this exact same framework, some different prompts. This one's specific to health. So the persona would be your fitness coach helping busy professionals stay active. The context, your client struggles with consistency. The task, create a 20-minute workout plan. Format, provide a step-by-step guide. Exemplar, a sample weekly workout plan for someone with limited time. So I shared a small snippet on the left, on the middle screenshot of what that looks like. It created a full routine of everything that I needed to do based off exactly what I needed. Now, bonus tip, it's going to give you all this breakout, right? It's going to say, do this on this specific day, compile this, cook this. Now it's up to us, how can we automate this information, right? We don't want to just get all this and like, oh, this is great, this is awesome. No, put it on your calendars. Break it out. If you have a task management system, let's say your reminders on your iPhone, literally put reminders on it. Say like, okay, on Monday I'm supposed to do this. ChatGPT says do a 40-second workout. Prompt it in. Have it all already baked into your ecosystem, and don't just consume the information. Figure out how can I plug and play this to my day-to-day, because ChatGPT is only as smart as the person that takes action on it. If not, it's just an overload of information. Then we have another one for just personal growth, right? You're a personal development coach helping professionals overcome procrastination. That's a persona. The context, a client keeps delaying their goals due to the fear of failure. The task, design a 30-day action plan. The format, break it into weekly milestones with reflection questions. And the exemplar, a case study of someone who overcame procrastination. You want to know something that's interesting? So I got this framework, right? Let's say you don't want to write this framework every single time. I already had one prompt that I'm like, oh, I want to work out better or whatever. Could you write it in that format? And it did it for me. So like, you don't even need to remember how to do this format. You could just tell it, hey, this is the format, copy and paste it. How would you rewrite my already simple prompt into this? And now you just saved yourself so much more time, and now you had ChatGPT do the work for you of writing the prompt. So you don't even have to write the prompt, but you're getting the value of the answer. So here are the 10 hours you could just save from just having the right prompt, having the ecosystem built out. So talking about personal organization, right? Managing schedules, to-do lists, reminders, you can save around 1.5 hours. Communication, drafting emails. If you're still writing emails, stop writing emails. Just, It takes so much time. Like I have, in a day, I'll go through anywhere from 30 to 50 emails. I don't have time for that. Like I want to spend more time servicing my client. So these emails come through. If they're simple responses, I'm literally, Genesis, which is a Google LLM, is baked into your emails already. You could literally tell it, hey, come up with a quick response for me, and just tweak it a little bit. Home management, organization, shopping list, meal planning. Meal planning. Oh my God, we've saved so much time meal planning. So I've literally told, there's certain things that my wife can't eat, certain things I can't eat. Thinking through the recipes is a disaster. So we literally said, hey, I can't eat these 3 things. My wife can't eat these 3 things. We need breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It needs to be under 2,000 calories because I'm not trying to gain weight. Break it out for me. And it gave me the full grocery list. And if I wanted to get even more context, I said, these are the grocery stores near me. Oh, you can get this at Publix. You can get this at Sam's. You can get this here. And then if you want to get even more nitty-gritty, this is my budget. So really, there's just so much that can be done. So from a financial standpoint, budgeting, saving, tracking expenses. If you're looking to save for a house, this is a great way to build out a format on what your budget should look like. Personal development, social life, networking, learning hobbies. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Like you can, if you can really get creative, right? I gave you the framework. I gave you what I'm using. This is what right now at my company, we're a Fortune 500 company. We have, I think, over 1,000 employees across the world, and we service a lot of big clients. People think we're doing these crazy. No, we're using this a lot. We're just using this a lot. We just learned how to use this a lot better, and our clients are serviced because they're happier for it. They're not like, man, why did it not take you 6 hours to do it? Why did that take you 20 minutes? No one is saying that. So figure out how can I implement this into my day-to-day. I can only give you a general framework, but enough to kick things off. So I want to give you guys some bonus content. All right? So let's move on to the top 3 AI tools that I use. Obviously, I use ChatGPT a lot. I use Gemini a lot. But if you are a business owner or you're working for an organization, you should be using Fireflies. Fireflies is incredible. It's an AI-powered meeting assistant that helps you record, transcribe, summarize, and analyze voice conversations from meetings and other audio files. You know how much time you spend on a meeting just talking, and then you're like, oh, wait, I got to write that down. Oh, wait, I got to write that down. No, forget about that. Like, literally just have the conversation with your client, with your customer, with your team, your internal team. What this will do is that it will take notes on everything that's being said in the conversation, and then it will come out with action items for each person that spoke, and it will flag what are the most important topics that we need to revisit later. So how I have this set up, I have a meeting with my client, I can sit back and I'm just having a full conversation. At the end of the meeting, Fireflies automatically sends the client the recap of the entire meeting. And the client's like, oh my God, you got everything that I need. I'm like, yep, I'm just doing my job. And then for me, what's incredible, let's say that there is a small piece that I'm like, oh, I forgot he said this specific business, but I don't remember what he said. You can go back to the conversation and talk to it and say, when was this said? And it will prompt exactly in what section and what time, and it has a voice recording of that section. This automatically is already baked in to Zoom calls and Google Meets. So you don't even have to add it. Well, the moment that you get into it, it automatically joins the call. So you don't even have to think about it joining the call. It automatically joins the calls for you. Then we have Perplexity. So it's an AI-powered search engine that aims to provide more direct, comprehensive, and conversational answers to user queries. Perplexity, guys, it's incredible. I do a lot of work in Google. I am using Perplexity more than I am Google. It is so good. So essentially, what you want to think about is that you have ChatGPT, you're able to have this conversation, right? But now think about the context. Now you put it into a search engine that uses the entire web as a knowledge base. Let me give you an example. My wife's about to give birth soon, and we wanted to plan a baby moon. I said, hey, my wife's 35 weeks pregnant. We're looking to plan a baby moon. I need it to be a location that could use the amount of points that we have available. So we only have 250 points, 250,000 points available. Can you find me a hotel that is by the water? We could have 250 points near the hospital. And do you know how much research that would take for me to do that? It broke it out in 30 seconds. It said, hey, here's the hotels. This is the hotels that can use your point system. This is, I know your wife's pregnant, by the way. They do masseuse massages here for pregnant people. It's right by the, so you can see this, because I always said I want to see a sunset. It's on the West Coast. You could do all this stuff. That was all Perplexity. So definitely check that out. And then finally, just Claude. Claude is similar to ChatGPT. It was created by the former OpenAI employees. So these are for the people that want to be a bit more cautious with your data and you want more transparency with your data. I have some customers that they don't like the fact that ChatGPT could train their models using their personal information. Claude is a little bit more transparent about that. And they don't utilize all the information to train their models. And I've seen it work really, really well when you're doing like research and you want some really good sources. Claude is really good for that. Or if you're working a lot on the coding side and you're not too skilled at coding, you could ask it and it'll break out different sections. So you can say, here's my website. Here's a full Shopify build. Could you break out why this is not working? Claude is really, really good at that. So I know we're a little bit over in time, but we had 3 more minutes. Perfect. Well, the next slide is a thank you slide. So, but appreciate it. Cool. So we have 3 more minutes. So I can open it up to the floor. Anybody, any questions? Yes. Yes. So with the paid version, ChatGPT gives you access to ChatGPT 4.0. Only difference is the knowledge base, so you get a lot more accurate answers. You'll notice that when you use a more advanced LLM system, it'll ask you what now follow-up questions. So it will force you to ask better questions. And what's cool about that is that whenever you're doing some digging on a specific topic and you want to break out and you want to get more in depth, like the later models can process it a lot quicker and a lot more effectively than the older models. The biggest difference you'll see is whenever you're using the free version, you'll notice on the top it says memory is full if you used it a lot. What that means is that it's learning all your different asks. So at this point, like for example, my wife asked a question and it understood a prompt that she asked 4 months ago. It's like, oh yeah, because I remember that you said that you worked in this. This is what you need this for. So the paid version, what it does is that it starts kind of adapting to everything that you're doing. So when you ask a question like, hey, create a fitness plan for me, it already knows who you are because it created a memory bank. So with the paid version, it opens up the memory bank. You have access to greater tools. And now with the new image generators, voice generators, you have more accessibility to those things because I think you're capped out on how many you could use. Yes? Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, it stores the information. There's a section, now it stores the information on the specific email that you use. So ChatGPT doesn't allow you to have different emails and have the same memory. In one specific email, it stores all the information. If you're on the free version, it'll cap you out. It will still answer the questions, but it'll cap out the knowledge base. So it will need to get updated. And in the back section, you could also go in and delete all the memory if you don't want it to use it. Yes? Correct. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yes. So there's 2 instances. I would tell out the client immediately, hey, this, just so you know, this call is being recorded. Just we want to make sure that we get all the insights and nothing falls through the cracks. The only thing I would be cautious is anybody that's working in the medical field, just make sure that you get something that's HIPAA compliant because you don't want to get a recording and talking about patients because then you get into legal issues because of that. But I've never seen any issues with clients when I tell them like, hey, this entire meeting is being recorded. An AI is listening to the entire thing and writing everything out for us. And after this phone call, you're going to have all the details that was discussed and the recording of it. Most clients are actually pretty happy about it. And I've even had people that I've skipped out on sending it to them. They're like, hey, it never got to me. I'm like, no worries, I got you. But I would just say that. Just make sure that you set the right expectations with your client, let them know that it's in their best interest because it's helping us have more conversations and allowing me to be more focused with you than it is to just try to write all these things down while you're talking. I believe so. There are other apps similar to it that are HIPAA, but I would check because I think they recently released. They're one of the bigger players when it comes to voice notes, and they're really accurate. Like when even people, I've noticed even when someone has an accent, it captures the conversation pretty well. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. So right now, so funny enough, so you saw that I created that little toy of myself. That was an image generator. That was Sora. So ChatGPT, there's a subcategory called Sora. So I'll literally Google Sora, sign up for it. It allows you to make 3 images a day. If you want to make more, I would get the pro version. Sora. Yeah. There's a lot of different ones, but right now the top contender is Sora.